What up, YouTube? It's your boy G YouTube back at it again with another video for you. And without any further ado, let's jump right into this video, man. And please like and subscribe, y'all. It really helps the channel grow. I really appreciate all of y'all. Thank you. Every year, the trade deadline is a spectacle in the NBA that everybody is kind of excited for, just to see what transpires for either their team or just around the league if you love basketball in general. And every year, we see a combination of trades made for teams that are buying to try to put themselves over the hump, or teams that are selling that are trying to either get rid of someone desperately, or they're trying to make a trade for the future that will help them rebuild and retool. And usually those players tend to be on a contract that has at least one more year left, or they only have the rest of this respective season with that player. And so they either think that if I keep him now, his trade value is only going to drop because he's only going to have 1 year left, or I get nothing for him and he walks, or he's playing exceptionally well and this is as high as his trade stock's ever been, so I gotta get rid of him now and get as much as I can for him now. Which, when you think of it, both situations are kind of one and the same. But either way, let's start off with the Portland Trail Blazers, who traded away Norman Powell, a very efficient scorer and good defender, to the Clippers. And they also gave Robert Covington, a solid 3-and-D player, for Eric Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, and a second-round pick in like 2 years. To me, that's an outrageously terrible trade because of, one, trading away such a good asset in Norman Powell. Obviously, I know Anthony Simmons, you're probably gonna have to pay him this summer, and they tried to make room for him, and they probably want to prioritize him over Powell. But to get rid of Powell altogether for such a low ball offer, like, they got nothing for him. Like, what are you doing with Eric Bledsoe, Justin Winslow, and Keon Johnson? I'm sorry, but what Powell and Covington offered to your team, aside from taking up cap space with Powell's contract, is nothing. So the Blazers are desperate to make something happen to make Damian Lillard stay and make them competitive and be able to make deep playoff runs with Lillard on the team, but they're doing it in the wrong fashion, in my opinion, because I don't believe there'll be anything that they can do to attract another star player to go to Portland to play with CJ McCollum and Dame Lillard and make them competitive. I don't believe that'll happen because of the way that this team has just functioned, and they've never really tried to make any drastic changes until now, and it doesn't look like it was a smart move at face value, regardless of the cap space situation over there. Now let's move on to the second trade, of which another team just got robbed a couple hours ago, which is the Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers just traded Caris LeVert, who has 1 year left on his contract. He's making about $18 million a year, and they got Ricky Rubio in return, who's on an expiring contract this year, which is okay. They're trying to clear up some cap space, but they only got a lottery protected first round pick and 2 second round picks. Now, unless you have an extremely talented scouting division, you're most likely not going to do too much with that, aside from get some solid role players at best. And that pick, since it's lottery protected, it can't be under pick number 15. And the way the Cavaliers are looking, they're probably going to finish with a top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. So the lowest that pick is going to go is probably like number 20 at best. So number 19 if they're lucky, but it's probably not going to drop down that far. And yeah, man, especially Caris LeVert is a damn near 20 point per game scorer over the past few years. A 3-level scorer. He can score at all 3 levels. A little bit inefficient from the three-point line, but he can still get it. He can still get you a bucket from there. He can finish in the paint. He'll pull up. He's got a nice pull-up J. He's overall a fairly efficient scorer for a shooting guard, shooting 45% from the field. I just feel like you should have been able to get more from him than what you did. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's still only 27 years old, and you just traded him to a more proficient offense with much more talent on the team in general that will probably be able to get him more buckets, especially because he's not on a team like the Nets, where even though they were also a prolific offensive team, not saying that the Cavaliers offense is as good as the Nets, but what I'm saying is the Cavaliers offense is better than the Pacers, and he also doesn't have to deal with ball dominant guards and forwards of the likes that were on the Nets with their three-headed monster they have over there. So he's gonna get more touches in Cleveland with much more better talent around him, so he doesn't have to. Nobody's going to focus in on him as much when they got to worry about Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and these boys that are hooping over there in Cleveland. So for what he is, they significantly devalued him in that trade, and ridiculous that they were able to pull that off, and that they couldn't possibly get more value from him from a different team in acquiring a young asset or a better draft pick if you wanted to go for a rebuild and retool type of approach for your team. Because let's be real, those late picks are not going to do much for you in a rebuilding situation, because you're looking for your star player. You're not looking for role players. You can get your role players and maybe trade for someone better, but at the end of the day, you have to go out and find your guy and build around him, and you can't really do that with later picks, especially second round picks. It's just the likelihood of that happening is slim. And I'm just concerned that there's going to be a lot of other teams that are either buying at the deadline or selling at the deadline are going to get robbed like this, because the scope of the NBA at the moment is there's a lot of parity, and there's a lot of teams who believe that they legitimately have a chance to come out of their respective conference. Like, there's no reason why the Bulls, the Heat, the Bucks, the Sixers, and the Nets shouldn't all equally believe that they have the capability to come out of the East. And the same thing with like the Suns, the Warriors, maybe even the Grizzlies with how well they've been playing, the Jazz, and obviously the Lakers championship aspirations. Like, all these teams respectively believe they can get out of their respective conference. And I think that's what's leading to maybe some of these trades that we're seeing, either buying and or selling, and a lot of these teams are desperate. So other teams you might see make a trade like that. The Kings, you might see maybe the Pelicans may sell hard, maybe even the Wizards, who have been struggling to build around Bradley Beal and John Wall when they had him in the past. You might even see the Knicks, after such a great season last year, try to buy in and get ripped off at the trade deadline. Even the Lakers, because the Lakers have been struggling. So there's a lot of things that could be happening and transpiring at this trade deadline for a lot of these teams that you could likely see just go very one-sided, as we've seen here today and a few days ago. That's my 2 cents on this. I'm very intrigued to see what's going to happen with the rest of the trade deadline, and the rest of this NBA season in general after all those trades have transpired. So yeah, man, to my next video. I'm out.